Hello and welcome back to my tutorial series on how to teach you how to program your calculator. We always start with turning the calculator on. And today I'm going to teach you how to program menus and some other random things. But menus are very important, especially when you're making your programs ergonomic. Now every episode, just like my other tutorial series, we're going to be making a new program, unlike last episode. And we're just going to name it Z, since I want it to appear at the end of my list of programs, since it's definitely going to get long. Z episode. Where's that P? Yeah, sometimes it's really hard to type very fast. Z episode 2. So what we're going to do, if we scroll down this list at index C, we'll see menu. Now, if you saw my menu in my last episode, where I was just scrolling through some of my programs, I had a title and several indexes you could choose. Now, we had to put strings in quotes, so what we do, the title of the menu. So, we're probably gonna do conditionals and loops along with the menu. So, yeah, this episode is gonna cover quite a bit of things. So right now, we're just gonna put in, and we're just gonna say choose. Choose, and then we're going to say pick between loop. Where's the P? There's the P. We're going to check between loop. Actually I wanted to make that if. And that's going to be at index I. So basically you do the name of the menu, and everything following will be the string, the name of the index, and the label of the index, which will be 1 or 2 characters. And since it can be 2 characters, I'll just label it if. And then you just separate each thing with a comma. So we'll do if, oh, no, I forgot to do the alpha lock. If for, and we'll just put this at index fo, if for, and I think the only other one we would like to cover would be while, which would be, the W would be down here. See how I would love a QWERTY keyboard on calculators, but unfortunately for SAT, whatever the SAT was thinking, if your calculator has a QWERTY keyboard, then you're not allowed to use it on the test. I digress. So you just end it with a closing parenthesis after you're done doing it, and what you do after that, I told you they had labels. So what you would go down to is 9, LBL, which stands for label, and then you would put the index. So right now we're going to do if. Just so we can make this interesting, we're going to prompt the user for 2 values. We're going to do just X, and then after X, we'll prompt for Y. That seems simple enough. So then we press if X. Now if you press second and math, it'll bring you to test, which will, on the left side, it shows you a whole bunch of inequalities things to test things, and the next is logic and or, exclusive or, and not. If you don't know what these are, well, I'll go over it soon. But let's just say if X happened to be, I don't know, maybe a little less than, if X is less than Y, you're going to, let's just display exactly that. We'll do display X is less than Y. Then we can do else. Else, and everything after else. Else, we're going to do another if to explain some logic. Else, if let's do if, let's change this so we can do something else. Else if X is equal to Y, then we'll do equals. Else if x is greater than, if x is greater than or equal to y, I'm sorry for typing slow, at least it'll make the episodes a bit longer, and x does not equal y. So basically it's a bit of redundancy, but again, teaching through the redundancies is good. So basically if x is greater than or equal to y, and it's not equal to y, so basically if x is greater than y, is basically the whole output of this, then you can do if, and then one line of code that would execute if it is doing, but if you do if then then it executes several lines of code until you specify an else or a stop. So then we're just going to display what we did, except we're just going to do x is greater than or equal to y. They're just going to make this, of course, a bit gratuitous. And x does not equal y. And then else hi. And then since this is a label, and after this we're going to have the other labels for the other loops, we just want to do a stop command, not end, but a stop command. So when it's done with this label, it'll stop as opposed to going on to the next labels when we add them. But we're going to quickly go to this program to test and see how it works. Zep2, it gives us our menu, choose, if, for, or while. We don't have anything for or while yet, so if. So let's just do 5 and 5. And what's our problem here? Display else. What's your problem here? Don't see why it shouldn't work. Let me see. Okay, so if you can only do else if you have then. So very quickly I'm going to add a not an x but a then. So that's just a simple rule. So we're just going to go back there again. If 5 5 what do you want? Okay, so the then should be on a separate line. No problem. Of course, I apologize for my mistakes, but you get rusty after a while. Oh, no, I wanted to do that. Delete that. Okay. Now if we run it, we should have absolutely no problem. I hope. Well, I always hope there's no problem, but we'll do 5, 5, and it turns out x is equal to y. So, now let's just do that again, and do it, no, not edit, execute. If, we'll do 5 and 8, and it does high, because 5 is not greater than 8. If we run it again and run the inverse of that, which would be 8, 5, we should get several lines that says x is greater than or equal to y, and x is not equal to y, which of course is true. Now we went over conditionals and some basic logic. I might want to explain one thing that you might not know. In logic, and is all conditions have to be true in order for the output to be true, or any of the conditions can be true for the output to be true. Exclusive or, only one of the inputs must be true for the output to be true. Only one. If both of them are true, then it'll be false. If both of them are false, it'll be false. But if exactly one of them is true, the output will be true. Unlike or. if at least one of them is true, it'll go. So if all of them are on, it'll still be true. Not just inverses it. So if you input true, the output will be false, and vice versa. Just clear that up if you didn't know that, and now we can just go back to editing this and get the for loop in. Now the for loop is a self-incrementing loop. 9, by the way, when you do this a lot, you'll learn the thing. When you press 9, you'll automatically get label. So I did faux, label faux. So now we'll just get a for loop in here. And what's really nice about the for loop is that it's basically a self-incrementing loop. So we just give it a variable. We'll give it I, because that's what I normally do in my other programming language. Thing to begin at, an integer to set I to at the beginning, an integer to go to until I is, so this will loop until I hits that 5. Now, if we close it right now, that means every time it goes around, it'll increment by 1 automatically every time it cycles. And we use an end to stop it. So right now, we could just do a simple one and display I, and then we just need to get 7 is end. There's a big stop between end and stop. So stop is used for labels and program stopping. End is for ending loops and conditionals. So if we just did this now, and just run this and pick the for loop, it'll print 0 through 5. Because it started at 0 and it kept going until it reached 5, it automatically incremented by 1 every time. Now if we wanted to go here again, and we could add a different conditional, we'll change that to 8, and we'll do how much we want it to increment. It's automatically 1, but what if we wanted to increment it by 2? Then that's perfectly fine. So we'll just go, run it again, and we'll do 4, and it'll increment by 2 each time, as you can see. Now the for loop is pretty easy. Last thing, I hope we can do this in 3 minutes. We'll edit this again. I'll just quickly add the while loop, which was labeled WL. All I need to do is enter the stop, which is alpha F. Then add a label, which was WL. And we'll add a while loop. Now the while loop, you give it one conditional. And our conditional will be, we'll just create a new variable, and we'll say x, we'll say 5 equals x. And it'll say while x does not equal 10. So if x does not equal 10, then it'll keep running and running between the while and then the end declaration. So what we'll do, we'll just do x plus 1 equals x. And that's just incrementing it by 1. So we'll just do end. And just, we don't need it since it's the last thing. And we'll just do stop. So then if we run this again, and we select while, it'll do done, because we didn't tell it to print anything, which we wanted to. Yeah, the only problem, that's why I separate all of my programs into different programs and subroutines, is because it takes a long while after a while to like keep pressing down to get to the next line and such. So we'll just display X. That should work now. We'll do while 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There you go. So that is conditionals and loops. That's enough for this episode, and I will see you next time, and happy programming.